So, are you tired of ads popping up in your start menu? Feel a little trapped in that walled garden? If you've ever thought about looking for an alternative to Windows or Mac OS, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to dive into what it's actually like to use desktop Linux in 2025 and figure out if now might be the time for you to finally make that switch.
And to help us on this journey, we're using this fantastic new book by James North, A Guide to Desktop Linux in 2025. We're basically pulling out all the key insights to give you a really clear, straightforward look at whether Linux could be the right fit for you. The book starts with this quote that honestly just nails it for so many people. Why try Linux? Curiosity and spite. I mean, what a great line, right? It perfectly captures that mix of wanting to try something new and, let's be honest, that frustration a lot of us feel with the operating systems we use every day. So what's the real difference here? Well, it all comes down to philosophy. With Windows, we're seeing more and more monetization, ads, services, all baked right into the OS. Then you've got Apple's Mac OS, which is beautiful, no doubt, but it's designed to lock you into their hardware. It's that classic walled garden. Linux, well, Linux is just built differently. It's all about user freedom and the power of community.
And this really gets to the heart of it. We have to talk about the word free. In the Linux world, free doesn't just mean you don't have to pay for it. It means free as in freedom. The freedom to run your software how you want, to look at the code, to change it, to share it. It's about giving you total control over your own computer.
And this is the direct result of that philosophy. You see, Windows and macOS are products sold by gigantic corporations. Desktop Linux? It's a massive, global community effort. It's built and maintained by thousands of volunteers and companies all working together, and that just creates a completely different kind of system. Okay, but that whole community thing leads to the number one question every newcomer has. There are so many options, where do I even begin? So let's break down this idea of choice in Linux and make it way less scary.
The word you're going to hear is distribution, or just distro. Don't let it throw you. The best way to think about it is like picking a model of a car. They all have the same engine underneath. That's the Linux kernel. But they come with different designs, different interiors, different features. A distro is just Linux all packaged up with a particular look and set of tools.
So, which car is for you? Well, the book has some great modern recommendations. If you're coming from Windows and you're new to this, Linux Mint is probably your best bet. It feels familiar, it's super stable. Got some brand new hardware or a tricky multi-monitor setup? Check out Universal Blue. For artists and creators who need absolute stability, Debian is a rock. And hey, if you're on a newer Mac with Apple Silicon, the folks at Asahi Linux are performing actual magic.
And getting it installed is probably way easier than you're imagining. It's really just 3 steps. You download a single file called an ISO. You use a simple app to flash that file onto a USB stick. Then you just restart your computer, boot from that USB, and follow the on-screen instructions. Seriously, most modern installers will have you up and running in like 15 minutes.
All right, so you've got Linux installed. Awesome. Now for the real test, right? The most important question of all, can you actually use it day to day? Can you get your work done and use the software you love? First off, getting new apps has been totally transformed. Forget about hunting for setup files on sketchy websites. Almost every modern distro has a graphical software store, just like the App Store on your phone. You just open it up, search for what you want, and install thousands of apps with a single click. It's that simple. Now for the million-dollar question. What about the big-name software? Well, the answer is, it depends. All your favorite browsers? Yep, they work perfectly. Microsoft Office? Kinda. The web versions work great, and free alternatives like LibreOffice are incredibly powerful. Now the big one for a lot of pros is the Adobe Creative Suite, and that, for the most part, is a no. But there are amazing alternatives like GIMP, Krita, and DaVinci Resolve that are really gaining steam. But look at this, for 3D and VFX, and especially for PC gaming, support is just fantastic. And let's actually dig into gaming for a minute, because this is probably the most incredible and surprising part of the whole story. What used to be the biggest weakness of Linux has actually become one of its greatest strengths.
This did not happen overnight. This has been decades in the making. It started way back in 1993 with a project called Wine, which was an early attempt to run Windows apps on Linux. Then in 2012, Valve, the company that runs Steam, got really serious about Linux. But the absolute game changer came in 2018 when they released something called Proton. And all that work led directly to the Steam Deck, a wildly successful handheld gaming PC that runs entirely on Linux.
So here's the magic. Proton.
It's this compatibility layer that Valve built that lets thousands of games made only for Windows, run on Linux. And a lot of the time, they run flawlessly. You literally just find the game in your Steam library, click play, and it just works. It's incredible. But this huge success with Proton brings up a really fascinating question. If we can run the Windows versions of games so well, what does that mean for games that were actually built to run on Linux from the ground up?
And here is the truly wild part. Because Valve is pouring so much effort into constantly improving Proton, running a Windows game through it can sometimes give you better performance and stability than an official native Linux version of that same game. It's kind of crazy, right? But native versions can get old and break over time while Proton just keeps getting better.
So, we've talked philosophy, we've talked software, we've talked gaming. Let's put it all together and try to answer that last big question. Is Linux really the right choice for you? You know, at the end of the day, it's a trade-off. The pros are huge. You get this incredible freedom and control over your own machine, you get an OS that respects you, no ads, no data harvesting, and you get a truly amazing gaming platform. But the cons are real too. You're not going to be able to run certain pro software like Adobe, and yeah, it does require a willingness to learn something new. It's an adventure.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. In a world where our computers feel less and less like our own, Linux offers something radically different. It offers you ownership. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: is the freedom to truly own and control your computer worth starting a new adventure? Fittingly, the choice is all yours.